Welcome to Lawyers in the House with Motley. Wish you had a lawyer in the family? Now you do. Here's your host, Veronica Waters.
Hey, welcome to Lawyers in the House with Montlick. You're in the house with me, your host, Veronica Waters, and I'm here with one of my faves, one-on-one with Alyssa White from Montlick Injury Attorneys. I'm so excited. This is our first one-on-one show.
It is,
Alyssa.
it is. Yes, we've had many, but this is our first one-on-one.
I know, our first solo adventure together. So listen, I have to tell the audience first off, I got to let you guys know, this episode was inspired by yours truly. Now, don't panic. I'm not hurt. But that is what the show is about, because when I was coming here to be on the air with Alyssa one day, somebody kind of roomed into my car and caused quite a bit of a delay as we waited for the police to come. I had learned from the show and I knew that I needed to call the police and get an accident report, et cetera, et cetera. Now, interesting side note, when I got here, Alyssa was so worried about me. Then I told her I wasn't hurt, and she seemed less interested.
No, of course. That's not true. That's not true at all.
I'm kidding. But she was a lot calmer when she realized that I was okay. Still, I was left with a lot of questions. And so today we're going to delve into the questions that you might have if you're in such a situation like that. But first, let me reintroduce you to Alyssa White, who has been with Montlick Injury Attorneys since 2013.
Yep, almost 10 years.
October
will be 10 years.
Oh my gosh, you're coming up on your 10-year anniversary. Are you going to take a trip and do something special? How are you going to celebrate?
I don't know. Maybe I'll take the day off.
Yeah. So Alyssa is an Indiana native. You remember that she is a mom of two. She got her degrees from Milligan University and Liberty for your law degree, right?
Correct.
Your JD?
Yep.
And I remember that your bio said that you were committing yourself to fighting for others when you were growing up. Please tell me how that manifested itself when you were little.
Well, I grew up in a very small town, farmland. I went to a public high school, but I only graduated with 36 people in my senior class.
Wow.
So when I say small, I'm not exaggerating at all. It was very small. And I think once I was able to go to college and get out and see a lot more of the world than where I had grown up, there was just a lot of opportunity to see where I could help others. And in the little world that I grew up in, I don't think I saw that at first. But once I got out and I played volleyball in college and was able to travel and experience a lot of different things, I saw more of an opportunity.
When you became an attorney, was that immediately the right fit for you?
Yes. I'm a rule person. I really like rules in everything that I do. If there's a little sign that says don't walk on the grass, I don't walk on the grass. Very much a rule person.
Are you also yelling at the people from the sidewalk?
Get off the grass. But I like rules. It creates structure, and I'm a very type A personality person when it comes to that. And so the law was just a really good fit for me. I started out doing bankruptcy law, which is very much rule and code based. And so as my career has transitioned into personal injury law, it's very much, these are the steps you follow and this is the result. And so it's satisfying for me as far as my personality goes.
All right. You served as your own attorney a handful of years ago because you actually had an accident.
Yes.
And you had to be your own lawyer in advocating for yourself in your own personal injury. What did you learn about yourself in that time?
Even though it's what I do all day, every day, it was still an added stressor for me. And I don't know if it was just everything that I had going on or the fact that I actually had my own case in my own hands. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into a case, whether it's just property damage or if you have injuries or car seat damage, like we're going to talk about later. There's a lot that goes into it, whether it's mine or yours or a client that I have never met before. They all deserve specific attention. And I think that's one thing really special about our firm is we have the resources and the staff in place to really be able to make sure we're checking all the boxes of everything that needs to be addressed on a case.
Thank you so much for being in the house with me, Alyssa, here on Lawyers in the House. We're talking about, she said it, property damage today. And I told you that I was in an accident. Somebody banged into my car. I wasn't hurt, but I had so many questions about what I was supposed to do next. And I ended up calling Motley to get some answers, right? Because I literally didn't know what to do. Yeah. So first off, let me ask, if you get calls like that from people like me a lot, where we may not be heard or we're not sure if we're hurt, but we're calling you anyway.
Yeah. And it happens on a daily basis. So,
wow. Okay.
And we talked about this the day that you were in your accident, was even if you have an accident, you don't think you're hurt that moment, you might wake up the next day sore, or 2 days from now sore. You might take Tylenol before you go to bed that night, and the next day you wake up and you're like, holy cow, like this is not what I thought it was going to be. So even if you call us, let's say the day of, and you think you're not injured, we'll say, hey, if something develops or you end up needing medical treatment, or there's other things that take place that you need assistance with, you're always welcome to call us back, because I'll have detailed notes from everything we've talked about. Even if we can't help you at that very moment, a lot of times we'll kind of leave the door open. If you go to the doctor, you end up in the hospital, then, we're happy to continue our representation at that point.
I remember being like so laser focused on everything that I was feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us go through life and we think, well, I feel like a little twinge here or whatever, headache there. And you just kind of go on with your day because you're a high achiever. You're trying to get your day done, your dinner on the table, life, you're trying to life, right? And so I was that time trying to tell myself, Veronica, don't ignore what you're feeling, because I knew that it might kick in later. So every time, I felt something in my neck or in my head, or when, the headache wouldn't go away, I was like, is this from the accident? Mm-hmm. As I was trying to figure out, though, what to do with my car, that was like the first thing that I could see, and immediately took pictures of on the scene.
Yeah. And that was good. And I think you knew to take pictures from from some of our shows that we've done.
Because I was paying attention.
Yes. Yeah.
How often do you see, like, you know what, I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to say, I would guess that a lot of the time you see property damage in personal injury cases, yes?
Yeah. Most cases that we pursue on behalf of clients, there is some damage to the vehicles, whether it's minor, moderate, severe, completely totaled with airbag deployment. Most cases have property damage. The ones that don't are a little more difficult, because if there's not any visible damage to show what happened, it makes it a little more difficult to show that there is an injury involved. But every case is different. There's certainly been cases where there's very minor property damage and someone needs to have surgery. So you just never know. That's why we always say, call us right away. Don't wait. As soon as you are in a stable place to call, it's better to get everything started on the right foot so that you know what to expect and how to handle things.
So a lot of these are car accidents, right? Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about car accidents, your car could be a little dinged up. Mm-hmm. It could be maybe have some sort of more noticeable damage. It could be completely inoperable for a while, or it could be totaled.
Yes.
Right? So there's a whole range of how that can look. What happens in those situations? That's got to be one of the first things that you're asking somebody. Like,
well, and usually the calls are a little more intense when you've completely lost your transportation. So usually the first thing that we look at is the car drivable or is it not drivable? Because those two cases are handled differently.
Okay.
So if your car is drivable, you have a little bit of time to get the police report, find out who the other driver has for insurance, get a claim set up, get an estimate made, and then take the vehicle in for repairs once the proper parts have been ordered. If it's totaled and you have no way to get to the doctor, you don't have a family member close by that can take you, the lack of transportation is a huge deal. And that's one of the most life-impeding parts of a case, especially early on, is the lack of transportation. If my car was totaled and it was, let's say, 2:00 and I'm trying to get to the carpool line by 3, like that's major problems, right?
Of
like
course.
2 car seats in the car. And so it really affects people and their ability to just continue with life and get the medical treatment. So depending on what category the damages are in, we handle those two different ways.
And that's how you determine how the case will go, like whether that's like the first sort of place where the case would pivot.
Yeah, because, there's different things we would say for each scenario. So, if it is minor, we would go down the path of waiting for the police report and getting the insurance claim set up. If it's totaled and you're in a more desperate situation for transportation, we start to look at your own policy first. If you have rental car coverage or a very low deductible that you can afford, it's a lot faster to handle it with your own insurance at the beginning.
But I would balk at that. I think,
and a lot of people do. And so your insurance company cannot raise your rates because of an accident that's not your fault. So, and this is one of the biggest pushbacks we get from people. You're like, I don't want to make a claim on my insurance.
Right.
It's not my fault. Why does my insurance have to be involved? Well, the short answer is you need a car. You need to get around. And it's not going to hurt you if you have these coverages. Some people don't, but most people have some coverage on their own policy that can go ahead and start processing your total loss. And then your insurance company is going to what's called subrogate and get their money back from the at-fault driver. So we need to look at not what's this going to do to my policy, or it's not, I'm afraid it's going to raise my rates, to what is our immediate need? And our immediate need is transportation, and you need that transportation to get to the doctor if you're injured.
What's this phrase, loss of use?
Yep. So let's say you are a plumber and you have all of your tools, parts, supplies in your van that has now been totaled and is sitting in the tow yard. Well, even if you couldn't do the job, but you could hire someone to do it, you can't go to the job because you have no tools. And so there is a loss of use component with some property damage claims where, because of the loss of the vehicle, you have lost the use of the vehicle. You are also losing money. And that is an additional component to a property damage claim. And you may not think about that if you hadn't talked to our firm or had a consultation to discuss what all you need to be looking for as far as compensation on the property claim.
Would never think about that. I would think, oh my gosh, what bad luck that I left my tools in the car when I was in the ambulance, or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Well, what about if I've got other stuff in the car. I'm not a plumber, but I am a reporter. So I would have my phone, my laptop, a lot of electronic equipment in there. Yep. What about that?
Documentation is key. We often have laptops, cell phones, your coffee spills all over an expensive coat, for example, or your purse. If you have the receipts of something that has to be replaced because it was damaged in the vehicle, that is certainly part of your property damage claim. We see cell phones and laptops most commonly, but as we're going to talk about car seats, clothes, any kind of specialty tool, anything like that can be considered part of the property claim.
It's interesting to me that you've mentioned car seats twice, so I definitely want to get into that. I don't have any kids, but you had your kids in the car, right, when you had your accident?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, we're going to get into that. Coming up, fair market value as we talk about property damage here on Lawyers in the House with Montlick injury attorney Alyssa White. Don't go away. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Montlick. I'm your host, Veronica Waters, here with Montlick injury attorney Alyssa White. And both of us will tell you that no good lawyer worth her salt is going to tell you upon your first call just how valuable your case is. Right? Because it depends on so many things, just a few factors of which are how badly you were injured, what your medical treatment is like, what your prognosis is, what your diagnoses are. There's so much that goes into it. But Alyssa White, we're talking about property damage today. Very different from bodily damage. Yes. Is it easier to tell what the value of somebody's property damage is?
In a way it is, but you still can dispute it. So let's say your vehicle's totaled. You are entitled to the fair market value for your vehicle. And let me tell you, that is not what you paid for it. That is not what you owe on the loan still. Fair market value is how much it would cost to find a similar vehicle like yours with similar miles and specifications. And the insurance company typically runs the VIN number and it gives you all the basic features. But there's a lot of things that go into it that you may need to compile yourself and advocate for yourself whenever you are being offered an amount for the fair market value of your totaled car.
Wait a minute. So let's say I got a $50,000 car. I took out a loan for half of it. So I am tooling down the road in my cute little car. I owe $25,000 on it, and boom, I get hit out of nowhere. Not my fault. Somebody's making an illegal left turn, and oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my cute little car? Well, I'm expecting my insurance company to stroke me a check for $50,000, right? Or
Right,
at
you
least
want-
$25,000, right?
Yeah, well, you would think,
That's
right?
what I'm thinking.
25,000. So, but everyone knows the second you drive your vehicle off the lot, the value goes down.
That's really true.
Yeah, and so it puts people in a very bad position often because people don't do a large down payment, or they have a high interest rate, or they add on all of the extra warranties and things that really pile on what you have to pay off on your car. And whenever it comes to a total loss, fair market value and what features your vehicle have can really come into play whenever you're negotiating with the insurance company for the amount.
Features? Give me an example of a feature.
Specialty rims that you had put on aftermarket. Yep. Because you want your money back for those, right? And by putting the VIN number in on your car, the insurance company wouldn't know that you had specialty rims.
Wow. Have you seen that in real life?
Yes. It actually comes up quite often.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Because people are really upset about it. They've, have custom rims and they hate to lose them.
Oh my gosh. And so then you have to fight. Again, it's with the receipts and the documentation, right?
Yep. Documentation is key.
I'm learning so much here. All right. We're talking about property damage here on Lawyers in the House with Motley. Coming up, what to do when your car is absolutely not drivable. Woe is you if you are in the commute capital of Atlanta, Georgia. Don't go away. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Motley. I'm Veronica Waters here with Motley injury attorney Alyssa White. We're talking about property damage on the show today. And you know what? You're doing yourself some damage if you're not listening to the gems that Alyssa has been doling out today. So make sure that you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. So when the new episode drops, you'll have it in your inbox and you can cue us up right away. Of course, you always have the option to keep up with us day to day on social media on every platform at Motley Law. And it's one-stop shopping if you log on to lawyersinthehouse.com. You can see us, you can listen to us, and you can drop us a line at lawyersinthehouse@motley.com. Just give us a call. Give us an email. We're here for you. I can't wait to hear your questions. Property damage is what we're talking about today, Alyssa. And you ended the last segment talking about fair market value and how that is calculated. Does that come into play like when your car is completely undrivable?
Correct. So the fair market value is what you are entitled to receive when your car has been totaled. So not drivable, not fixable. The insurance company is going to give you the fair market value.
And I understand that a vehicle is considered totaled when the cost of repairs is above the fair market value of the actual vehicle. So how do you figure out what that is? Because I'm going to think it's one thing, and you were saying earlier that somebody might dispute that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that come into play. So like we were saying earlier, the insurance company is going to come to you with an offer to compensate you for the fair market value. And there may be things that the insurance company doesn't know that only you know. I don't even know from reviewing the police report all the features that your vehicle has that may have been aftermarket. So speakers, rims, a specialty thing done to your engine, new tires that you got last week. There's lots of things, if you can document them, that can really bolster the fair market value so that you can get more from the insurance company for when you have to go replace your car.
How many times do you see folks like me with a case that's only property damage and then sort of like up the creek because we don't have the right coverage, or we don't have whatever it takes to sort of make us whole with the property?
And a big part of what we do is educating people on insurance coverages. And one of the most important things, especially if you buy a brand new car, is to purchase GAP insurance.
GAP insurance.
Yes. So GAP insurance will take the difference between what the insurance company gives you for the fair market value and what your loan payoff is. So if there is a discrepancy there, which there is oftentimes a very large discrepancy, let's say they're going to give you $25,000 for your vehicle, but you owe $37,000. Gap insurance will pay off that difference. Now you have to give them a lot of information as far as the account numbers and a copy of the check from the insurance company, but that insurance specifically really protects you from that difference, because if you don't have gap insurance and you get $25,000 for the $37,000 loan, you are stuck paying that difference.
It kind of makes me think, though, if I'm selling a car, this is what I'm thinking. Let's say I was going to sell that car. It hadn't been in an accident, but I wanted to sell it. I would be thinking that I would be selling it for closer to the amount of money that maybe I still owe on it, right? But it's not.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that people take out car loans that is more than the value. So you add a warranty provision on your plan and the tire protectant and the seat cover protectant and all of these added fees to your loan that are not necessarily reflective of the value of your vehicle at the time of purchase. Also, if you don't do a very large down payment on the vehicle, it can quickly turn upside down. And we see a lot of people that are underwater on their vehicle loans.
All right. So this gap insurance that you're talking about, is this something that I have to get like right now? Can you purchase it like right when this happens, or how does that work?
It's typically offered when you purchase a vehicle at the onset. There may be some car insurance companies throughout the country that allow you to add it when you put your vehicle on your car insurance policy. I've seen it that way a few times, but it varies from state to state and company to company.
Now, I had to get a rental car when my car was being repaired. Did you have to get a rental car? How does rental car insurance and that part of it work? Did you have to get a rental car when you had your accident? You did?
Yeah. So, and
they gave me a big old SUV. And I drive like a little tiny 2-seater, right? So you should see me. I was on the interstate, like looking around. People like, hey, is this what it looks like way up here? Anyway.
That's funny you say that, because a lot of times people complain about the opposite. They have a big SUV and they're giving a little rental car to get around. So the rental car is a courtesy that the insurance company provides while your vehicle is being repaired. Or if it's totaled and they're deeming your vehicle a total loss, while that's processing, they'll typically extend a rental car for you for a few days so you can get around, get a new vehicle picked out. It's one of those things where if you don't have the coverage on your own policy for rental car, regardless of the scenario, it is something that we want to get on, like working on right away whenever we represent people, so that, again, the transportation to the doctor and to work, so that you're not losing out on everything else that you need to deal with. It's a very important aspect of a case.
It occurs to me that one of the things that, and I told you guys this show was inspired by me and all the questions I had, and, trying to figure out what to do before I thought to call somebody at Montlick and actually ask some questions. Duh. But the first thing that I wanted to do was report this accident that was the fault of the other driver to my insurance company and get the claim started that way, because my assumption was that they were going to take care of everything, and then they would go after the at-fault driver for the money. Mm-hmm. And the police report cited her. She actually admitted right on the scene to the officer what she had done, so there was no dispute about that. But the body shop, when I contacted them, said, "Don't worry about that. Go through her insurance company." And I didn't even know what to do. So I had to call Montlick and say, how do I do this, you guys?
Well, and this just bolsters the point of call us first. because really, I mean,
I'm all over the map.
The body shop.
Playing Monopoly from the backwards going around the board.
Yeah. The body shop might have useful information, but at the same time, you did have the option to go through your own insurance. That is completely up to you. And a lot of times, even though the driver admitted fault at the scene, she could have been an uncovered driver on the policy. So here you are waiting for 2 weeks to get everything going, and it's going to turn out a denial anyways. So every situation is different, and the facts and the needs of the client determine how we address the issue or how we would advise you. But call us first. Don't talk to the body shop. Don't talk to your mom. Don't talk to your friend from college. Call us. We're happy to help walk you through it and get you started on the right foot.
All right, question for you about something that you brought up early in the show a couple of times, and I think this is like heavy on your mind, so we need to make sure that people understand what this issue is all about. Car seats in accidents. Yes. Apparently, there are some really specific rules from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration about what to do with car seats after accidents.
Yes, there are, and we also will direct you to the manufacturer of the car seats that you have in your vehicle, but it's one of those things where they're not cheap and they need to be replaced after an accident. The severity of the accident depends on the replacement requirements, but again, check with the manufacturer and the state officials regarding the damage and what's required. But that is something that actually is very quickly reimbursed by the insurance companies because they know it's a very important thing.
Even if the rest of the case is pending,
Yep,
will they come up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So once the other party's insurance has accepted liability and they, we're taking care of the claim, even if your car is not repaired, you still need a car seat to put in the rental car if your car is getting repaired. But one thing that people don't know is just because the car seat appears intact doesn't mean that the internal mechanisms are still fully functioning, and you have no way to know. And the last way you want to find out is another severe accident and you find out that your child wasn't properly restrained.
So scary. NHTSA says that it recommends that car seats be replaced following a moderate or severe crash in order to continue that high level of crash protection for kids. Car seats don't automatically, they say, have to be replaced after a minor crash. But Jenny Hardy, who is a certified child passenger safety technician and the program director of I Ride Safe at Montlake, says that some car seats do have to be replaced even after a minor crash. And she referred me to this list on NHTSA's website that talks about those parameters, which I think you were just mentioning.
Yeah.
It depends on like where the car was hit, what side, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's something that you may overlook because you're like, man, I was just in an accident. I'm missing time from work. I don't want to go spend $300 or $400 on a new car seat, but it is so important. And, the last thing we want to see is an inoperable car seat still being placed in a car and a child unsafe.
We talked about rental cars. Can you rent car seats?
You can, actually. We just went on vacation, actually, out of state, and we rented a car seat for our rental car. You can. But if you're going to have to replace it anyways, it may as well go ahead and replace it. Send the receipt to the insurance company, and it's a very quick turnaround as far as reimbursement goes.
If I'm settling, and tell me if settling is the right word, if I'm settling a property damage case, and let's say it is a personal injury case, does that mess up my personal injury case if the property damage is so quickly taken care of?
No, and you can resolve your property damage claim while holding open your bodily injury claim, and that is mostly what happens. Because your injury claim, as you know, can take several months, and it depends on your medical care and the severity of your injuries. But at the same time, the property damage claim can be resolved prior to the resolution of your injury claim.
Got it. But I understand you need to always consult with an attorney before you sign anything, so you don't sign away any of your claims without even realizing it. So who's fighting whom in a case like this? Again, I have to say that the driver who hit me was completely upfront. She didn't even let me tell the story, basically. She told the officer right away what happened, and the citation was pretty quick. But I am curious to know if, there's all this duking it out a lot of times.
Yeah, a lot of times it's word versus word. And we told you whenever you're in your accident, take pictures. You're calling us from the scene. Take pictures of where the cars are located, because it's very interesting how quickly stories can change once they've talked to someone or start to think about the ramifications of their actions. So always document as much as you possibly can. If you're in a position to take photos at the scene, take the photos of the damage to both vehicles. If they're still crashed up to next to each other, take a photo of that. I'm never going to say don't send me photos. The more documentation we have, the better we can represent you.
I didn't even ask her if it was okay to take pictures of her car. I just started snapping away, and she was like, "Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I should take some pictures too." So she was very nice. Yeah. But do I need to ask the other driver?
No, I mean, you're at the scene. You're in a public place. You can certainly take photos of the scene. A lot of times we'll order even the dash cam video from the police officer that shows what's going on when they arrive. And so we see some very interesting things on those dash cam videos, as you can imagine. But in a situation where maybe the client was taken away by ambulance and didn't take any photos, that has given us valuable insight to what the scene actually looked like.
All right. I've got a question for you that deals with my loving husband, who is amazing with fixing cars and stuff. Mm-hmm. Let's say that he says, "I don't think your car is that bad. I can fix it. We don't need to total it out." Mm-hmm. Can we do that?
You can. And it happens sometimes. There's a lot of things that go into what's called purchasing the salvaged title. So if the insurance company deems your vehicle to be a total loss, you have the right to take the fair market value offer from the insurance company, but you also have the right to purchase the salvage title. And there are a lot of requirements for that vehicle to be placed back on the road, but it is an option for people who are mechanics or work in a body shop already. And we do see that happen from time to time.
Is it expensive getting the salvaged title, or is it sort of a nominal? Would you say it's, or in between?
Well, it depends. If you think you can fix the car based on the resources that you have available to you or the body shop that your husband works at, for example, then yeah, it would probably be worth it. But then you still have a salvage title, a wrecked, totaled car.
All right. Well, our body shop is like right in our driveway. Coming up, the Mottlick closing argument. Don't miss it. Welcome back to Lawyers in the House with Mottlick. I'm Veronica Waters here with Mottlick injury attorney Alyssa White. You know you've been waiting for it all hour long. It is time for your Mottlick closing argument. Alyssa, the floor is yours.
Well, a good lawyer makes all the difference. Even if we don't formally handle your property claim, we can walk you through every step of the way. What needs to happen? We can answer your questions. And there's so much that goes into a case, and there's so many things happening very quickly after an accident that you want to be careful that whenever you're accepting the money for your vehicle damages, that you're not accidentally also settling your bodily injury claim. Believe it or not, it happens often. And there's a lot of ways that insurance companies try to trick you, and that is one of them. And if you've consulted with us, we can help guide you. We can review the documents before you sign or accept any money for your vehicle damages. And, you know, it's more opportunities for us to help you, and we are certainly glad to do that.
I can't tell you it's obvious, right? But the night and day difference between when I was trying to flounder around and handle my case on my own, I call it a case, not really a case, but handle my incident on my own. And after I just made one call to talk to an attorney at Mottlick and who was able to say, okay, these are the steps that you take. Mm-hmm. It's literally night and day. I mean, I was like a babe in the woods, floundering in the dark.
Well,
and suddenly, I had a light.
Yeah. And the thing is, even though it's a traumatic situation, if you know where you're going and have some guidance, it helps relieve some of that stress that you're handling and going through right after an accident. So, even if it's not good news, we can still explain what's going to happen so that you can prepare yourself.
Is it at this point sort of like second nature to you to be able to like sort of fire off the answers to these questions? I mean, I know by now, like 10 years in, you're like, hey, I got this. Right?
Yeah, we often say, how many clients we have spoken to over the course of 10 years.
Could you estimate?
Oh my goodness. Thousands and thousands and thousands. Yeah. So we know what we're talking about, and we're happy to help you through it. And it doesn't hurt to call. It's a free consultation. We will give you as much information as we possibly can to get you set off on the right path. And if we can help you with the rest of the case and the bodily injury, we certainly will. And if you just have some questions about your property damage, we're happy to help with those as well.
What is the last time that you hung up from a consultation with a client whose case you didn't take, but you felt really good about that conversation?
It happens almost every day. And the thing that's special is sometimes they call us next week and say, actually, I am injured. Or 6 months down the road, their family member says, hey, you spoke to so-and-so a while back and helped them with their vehicle damage, but here I am now. And so it really helps us create those relationships with our clients.
They remember it. There is more to life than stuff, Alyssa White with Mottlick Injury Attorneys. But when your stuff gets damaged, you have rights just like when your body does. Make sure that you find a helpful property damage checklist on mottlick.com under resources. Until next time, I'm Veronica Waters on Lawyers in the House.